The Walking Dead brought you zombies, Falling Sky brought you aliens, and now Guillermo del Toro brings you vampires? Sort of? Back in 2008, Guillermo del Toro went around town pitching this vampire television show that all of the networks turned down. His agent suggested maybe you should go the Game of Thrones way and write a series of novels that'll then be adapted into a television show, which is exactly what he did. Guillermo del Toro was really uncomfortable with writing these novels by himself. He'd written screenplays before, he'd written a couple of stories in Spanish, but he wasn't completely satisfied with his own understanding of like CSI and the scientific jargon that goes into investigatory sort of narrative. So he brought on Chuck Hogan, most famous for having written the novel The Prince of Thieves, which then got turned into the movie The Town, directed by Ben Affleck. So in 2009, the first book of the Strain trilogy came out to pretty mixed reviews, and immediately television networks really wanted to turn it into a TV show. They actually turned all of those television networks down because they didn't want the development of a show to influence the novels that they were going to write. So they released all 3 novels in the series and then went back to those networks to figure out which one was the right one for the show. FX got the win. The show as a whole is set to be between 3 and 5 seasons. No more, no less. This is not like every other show where if it's really successful, they'll just keep stretching the plot forever. One of the reasons that Guillermo del Toro went with FX is because they said if the story that you're trying to tell is going to be finished in 3 to 5 seasons, then that's how many episodes there will be, even if it's the most successful show on television. The show is going to be showrun by Carlton Cuse, most famous for being the second half of the Lost duo, and I really kind of attribute everything great about Lost to Carlton Cuse, because I have an awkward relationship with Damon Lindelof after he rewrote Prometheus and turned it into Prometheus. Guillermo del Toro is really good at sort of being the nerdy Quentin Tarantino. In his movies and in all of his work, he has all of these great throwbacks and great references to everything from fairy tales to horror gore comic books. And this is no exception. In the novels for The Strain, the opening, which is gonna be apparently the same opening for the show, is one of the most interesting parts of the books. It starts with a flight from Berlin, landing in JFK. It lands totally normally, everything's fine, it's starting to tax, and then suddenly the plane shuts down, the windows shut, and it goes dark. And the good guys get on the plane and everybody except 4 people are dead. And there is sort of this refrigerator-sized coffin in the plane that's now empty. Now, the events of the opening with the plane are extremely reminiscent of Bram Stoker Dracula's arrival in England. You know, he came on the Demeter, a Russian schooner, where they found all of these dead bodies and this empty coffin. Other than the opening of the show and some character similarities, that's kind of where the comparisons end. So the show is really not going to see a return to those gothic romantic vampires of yore, as some people were hoping for. Instead of 2 fangs, they have this giant sort of spike tongue thing that comes out from under their tongue. They're really like giant killer frogs. They lose their ears, they lose their nose, their skin gets really pale, they lose their hair. They're really more reminiscent of I Am Legend, the 1954 Richard Matheson novel. Personally, I am both excited and nervous about this show. Guillermo has talked a lot about how the show is going to have a very sort of stylized reality, but shot in a very realistic way. And if you look at the teasers, you can see examples of that really well. I trust Carlton Cuse. I think Guillermo del Toro owes us one a little bit after Pacific Rim, even though I was a big fan of it. I'm on board to watch it. I'm excited, but I'm hesitant. So until more information on the show comes out, I kind of have mixed feelings about the froggy vampire zombies, but we'll see. It's your move, Guillermo. It's your move. Check out both teaser trailers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more movie news on Cinefix Now, which is this. Now.